the burning in your spirit, welling deep inside. You got a beast inside. I know it's hard to tame it, it's harder to explain it. Can't even get a picture, no matter how you frame it. There's so much pressure with all these external stresses, and they try to touch you. Gotta push them through the feeling, even though your mind is reeling. The power's deep inside and leads you if you were willing. Got the power. Can you feel the power? This is the hour to release your power. Got the power.
Man, look.
Welcome. And look at you, Dion. That's what I'm
this
talking
is
about.
the hour to release your power, baby. I was over here.
I love it. I love it. Look, I need you to help me bring this in every week. No, I love it. I did want to say a shout out to Donnie Got the Beats. He actually did the theme song for the Power Shut Up podcast and the video. So shout out to him. He did an amazing job. He's a beast.
Fantastic job.
I met him. He's in LA, I believe in California, but I met him online. He had his own podcast as well. And, you know, as we do, we, you know, support each other. And I brought him in as a speaker on the Power Shut Up Symposium. So he is part of the family, but he did an amazing job.
Oh, yes, he did.
I wanted to welcome everybody in. I see his divine appointment. I see Karen and Lisa. Welcome to the Power Shut Up podcast. We are winding down season 2. So I think I mentioned last week that we are down to, after tonight, 2 more episodes, and then we're going to take a break. And we don't break too much because we're busy on, you know, trying to figure out how we can make season 3 even better, or just fix some things and perfect. You know, we're always looking for improvements and things like that. So it's a good time when we're kind of laying down for a minute and figuring that out. So that's fun too. But tonight I'm really excited because we have an author, and you all know I am an author and I'm a publisher. So I have a special place in my heart for authors. But Dion is not, he's not a guest. He's been on the platform before, and we've shared some platforms together. So I'm sending him to the refrigerator to get his own stuff. I am not serving him. But before we get started, I did want to make sure we bring in everybody and say, y'all know how I am about celebrating. So happy birthday to anyone who's celebrating a birthday today or this month. And I do know that although it is, you know, you might be celebrating your birthday, I did want to remind everyone that it's also, I believe, Mental Health Awareness Month. So keep that in mind, because we can't forget that there's a lot going on right now that's connected to that. So let's not keep that in the back part of our mind. We need to bring that to the forefront. And just because we're not in the month of May, I think we still need to keep that in mind. We're missing a beat on a lot of things when it comes to mental health. So just be aware. I'm also going to do some special awareness days in the month of May in just a minute. But before we get to that, I want to also say happy anniversary to anybody who's celebrating an anniversary or new love, whatever it is. Happy anniversary to you. In addition to that, I want to say, and Dion, you're part of this as well as others, congratulations on a new book release, on buying a new house, starting a new job, whatever it is, congratulations, keep going. You got this, all of the above. So I want to make sure I say congratulations. I also wanted to just, let's send a prayer up for those people who are still going through it. You know, the state of the world right now. I've been through some things on the job when we're talking about, whether it's government or even private industry. But just in general, just pray for those people. Special prayers sending it out to Shariva Smith, my right hand. She helps me with everything dealing with the Power Shut Up, the publishing company, everything. She's going through some things right now. So please just send her a prayer up. She will be with us season 3, but she's taking some time for family. So, and that's my right hand. So if something happens weird here today, that's because the pro is not here. So I'm gonna do the best I can. We miss Shariva over here, but please send a prayer out for her. And please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. I have been, somebody's pulled my little coattail and told me to remind people to go over to YouTube and subscribe to my channel. I don't do a lot of this because I'm just into the guests and having a good time here. But please go over to my YouTube channel, Lisa Dove Washington, and subscribe. All of the shows are there, including the Luncheon with Lisa shows, the Dove Style Magazine shows. There's everything that's over there. And go to I think we have the Power Shut Up Facebook page. I also have my personal Facebook page. We're on TikTok. And I will announce that we will be starting with season 3. We're probably going to have something going on over on TikTok too. So I've been dragging my feet on it, but as Sean Lesueur said, just do it. So that'll be coming too. I'm excited about it, a little nervous, but I'm going to do it anyway. What they say, you do it anyway. So I really want to thank everybody for continuing to support the Power Shut Up podcast. I know that there's many other things you could be doing. So I always appreciate you taking some time out of your day to come over here and listen to our wonderful guests. We have great guests to come on the show, and I'm hoping that it builds relationship and community among all of you all. I'm just, hoping that I am that step towards another connection that can take you to whatever it is you're doing. That's what we're here for, to really support one another. So please connect with the people in the chat, connect with our guests that are here, and let's keep it going. Let's learn how to support each other. There is no competition here. We can all win. So that's why we sit over here. I don't know about y'all, but we all winning over here. And yes, thank you. Hit the like button. Crystal, thank you for joining. So without further ado, I want to give you a little background on our guest, but I really want to get into this because I'm so excited about this new book project he has. And I think it's being released in a day or two or something. If it's not already, it's already out there. But we're going to help you out on making sure you get a copy. That's what we're going to do.
Right.
But let me tell you a little bit about Dion before we go further. Dion Darnell Banks is a dynamic leader serving as the Vice President of Marketing and Public Relations for, and I think, Dion, this is EcoRemedy.
Yeah, EcoRemedy.
EcoRemedy. Okay, EcoRemedy, where he leverages over 2 decades of international business experience to drive impactful change. Recently, Dion published a book titled Kofi, the Wind Whisperer, A Hero's Journey to Freedom, aimed at connecting with teens and empowering them to create the change they wish to see in the world. This inspiring narrative encourages young readers to embrace their potential and take action toward their goals. Now, I'm going to get Dion to tell you a little bit more about what he's doing because he can tell you better than I can. And I'm really excited to get into this new book. But before we do that, Dion, he shared a little video with us, and I want to actually kick things off with that. So let's see if we can find this video. Y'all check this out, and then we're going to have a conversation. Dion, let's go.
In a land torn by chains, one boy dares to listen to the wind. Kofi's laughter once filled the skies, until silence came in the form of slavery. But even in bondage, the wind whispered, and Kofi heard its call. With every breath of sorrow, he discovered strength buried deep within. Elemental power stirs in his soul, a storm born of spirit and pain. From captive to liberator, his legend rises on wings of wind and will. A mythic journey of hope, resistance, and the unbreakable power to fly. Kofi, the Wind Whisperer. Available now on Amazon.
That is fire.
It hits me different every time I see it.
Dion, that is, oh my gosh. Yeah, it just kind of gets things ready. Yeah. Perfect to start off this conversation, because we're going to find out from Dion before anything else, like, how did you get here? What was your inspiration for starting this type of book? Because I'm going to say this before we get started. We're all out here publishing. I know I have a self-help book. We're all into that kind of thing, which is cool. We want to, help ourselves to get better at being human beings and that kind of thing. But this just ignited something very different in me that I loved. So tell us a little bit about why Kofi.
Yeah. So I've spent and by the way, thank you so much, Lisa, Dr. Lisa, for having me on your platform. I am so honored to be here with you and your guests.
Absolutely.
Anytime. Your followers. Yeah. So this project was a long one coming. We met back in the day when I was doing the Reflections on Pine and Reclaiming the African-American Narrative in Dorchester County here in Cambridge. And this was just another birth child from that work. So I wrote a walking tour called the Pine Street Walking Tour in Cambridge, Maryland, that honors our past and present people. So it's a walk into history of enslavement all the way up to present day, to Black mayors, to governors, to all that type of stuff. So this book was born because the walking tour that I created, I programmed with over 2,000 kids in 4 years. Right, that they're flown down here to us from different schools, whatever. And I realized that I was doing a great job at connecting with kids between 14 and 18. Right. However, the difference was these were kids that were privileged. And when I want to target the kids in my community, I have to think about the kids that are living in systematic poverty, that are not thriving, they're just surviving, right? Mm-hmm. And we know that reading is an issue here in Dorchester County, all across the country, but more so here. I know the stats. So I said, how can I create something that would allow them to connect with the streets, the landscape that they currently see every day, that would challenge them to engage in a book, right? So my first book was actually one that was for like kids 6 to 8 years old, right? First reading. And the publisher was like, oh my God, dude, this is such a great story. You've got to make this a large novel. And I said, well, wait, I understand I could expand this, but I'm writing with a purpose. I'm writing with intention. So for my age group, it's going to be 14 to 18, less than 10,000 words. And I'm going to take them on a metaphoric, poetic journey throughout this book to get them to take a ride, not just read a book, and I I have curriculums that go with this whole series of books that actually teach kids how to critically think, challenge the status quo, use the 5 whys, which I always preach about.
I love the 5 whys.
I don't care what it is, you will get to the root. And the end project is going to say, okay, all of you kids here, tell me how you're going to go back into your community to make a difference. Or if you feel like you've never been heard, I will help you write a book.
I love this for many reasons. Historically speaking, that's always been, one of my things is that we're going to lose sight of, where we came from in our history if we don't start speaking up. But we got to do it in a way, which is exactly what you're doing, that we can, get children to embrace history, because that's a hard one for kids. They're like, why do I need to know about that stuff? But it is really serious if they don't know their history. I think we've already started on this path of the things that they don't know that they should. And we're getting a lot of help with making sure that's erased. So I think that this is perfect timing. And I love the curriculum that goes along with this book. You got me in with that one.
It's the purpose, though. Writing with purpose. Yeah, writing with purpose.
We got it. Well, and that's the whole thing. I think that and even when I started my publishing company, it was less about just publishing a book and more about the experience.
Mm.
Because there is really an experience, and it's really empowering to write your own piece. And writing is permanent. This is a permanent mark that you're leaving well after you've gone. So legacy comes into that. So I'm so proud of you and all that you are doing. But you thought this out with the curriculum and everything. So tell a little bit, you shared a little bit before we went live, but what was your motivation for this character, Coffee? And I think you mentioned that you had another book that this kind of stemmed from, maybe.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So like I said, this project started from me doing a children's book, like 6 to 8 years old. And I presented it to a publishing company, and they were like, holy God, like they were like, whoa, like this is like Star Trek. You got to build this out, because all three of the books have interesting dynamics that just layer on top of each other, just crescendos at the end. And I was like, I've got to be intentional. I can't do what you want me to do, because God's telling me, if you're writing with purpose, this is your mission, right? So blocking their noise. I am a huge fan of Octavia Butler. I mean, I cannot tell you how much I enjoyed this woman's writing. So Kofi kind of embodies the spirit of Harriet Tubman, and is my muse. But my motivation behind the way that I write all comes from Octavia Butler. So again, when I was writing for these kids, I thought about Minecraft. I thought about video games. And then from a professional perspective, I said, what books have I read that would kind of help me connect with them? So one of my books that I read in business leadership several years ago was called Harold and the Purple Crayon.
I've heard Harold and the Purple Crayon.
Which I am telling you, it's a really good read for executives to get into a room, close the door, and think about potential and possibilities instead of being in the weeds. The next book was Kindred by Octavia Butler, which was amazing. And then actually the book that I constantly go back to probably for the last 30 years is The Art of War, right? Okay. So all of those things I took in consideration when writing this book. And then I said, okay, I really want the kids to take all of those books, right, and go on a journey with me. So I said, okay, it's going to be a lot of metaphors. It's going to be very poetic. When I describe the sun, I'm talking about honey. I'm using these. I'm trying to create a picture that the kids can fall into, right? But I'll tell you, it was so funny, right? So when I was writing this book, and I was doing some of the metaphors like halfway, and I said, good Lord, I sound like Sophia Petrillo. Picture it. This way. But Sophia will help you, though. Sophia will hook you and then drop you off a cliff at the end. But you know what I mean?
Because I was hooked, even with the name. The title, it locks you in.
Yeah, and the wind is representative, right? And the wind can be anything. Yes. That's why, and another issue that I have with teaching our Black children or children of color is that we always talk about our history began with slavery. Yes. Right. And I hate that marker, because we were kings and queens and rulers, and we were doing surgery before they were even doing surgery in the West, before the West was even discovered. Absolutely. So and I purposely did not focus on the element of the enslavement because I wanted them to focus more on developing the wind as a power. Right. And through this guy's eyes. So when I was writing it was actually funny, because you remember the movie called Wilson with Tom Hanks, where he was talking.
I don't remember that movie.
Oh my God, it's cool. So Tom Hanks played in this movie where he was like stranded on an island by himself, and he found this old soccer ball, and he drew a face on it, and the ball's name was Wilson, because it was like a Wilson.
I vaguely remember that, but I don't think I saw it. Yeah.
So that could, because I wanted to focus on Kofi's internal strength. So I kind of wrote like that and didn't include an antagonist, right? So I was like, oh gosh, now I got to go back, right? So now as the owner of him, I say his name is Mr. Cannon, and I intentionally only mention him once, because the enslaver is not going to get no credit, no light from me. I'm talking about the strength that's going to take you over, right?
I know that's right.
So the name Cannon was intentionally used because we think about Patty Cannon, right? who yeah, there it is, Castaway. Nick D got it. Yep. Good movie. The name Cannon is referencing Patty Cannon, the famous fugitive slave catcher.
Okay.
Would actually go back in the day, would actually go and kidnap free Africans and sell them into slavery in the North. Well, here in Cambridge, there's a historic house on my walking tour where Josiah Bale lived, who was also an attorney. And beside his house, he had his law office where he actually represented Patty Cannon here in Dorchester County at the courthouse, where she was then later jailed in Delaware, where she died in prison. So like there's a lot of nuggets in here that, you know, that I will discover with the kids. Like I can take them to that place where Patty Cannon sat. I could take them to the courthouse across the street where she was tried, right? So I'm creating these,
so cool.
I'm making spaces timeless.
I love this. You know why? And I'm okay. So I'm gonna do a little shout out to over there on the Eastern Shore side in Dorchester. If you are ever in Maryland and can get over to the Eastern Shore side of the house, I'm telling you, there's so much history over there. And it's a beautiful place. So I love going over there, but just knowing the history, I've been to several places over there. My son actually graduated from Eastern Shore, which is what kind of introduced me to go deeper into the history of it, because we went over there to vacation or things like that, but to know how much history is over there from the Harriet Tubman place. You can go over there. There's so much over there, and you are so involved. I'm telling you, if you all come over to Maryland, please take a trip.
I got you. Let me know. I'll give you a tour.
There's some history over there that, you know, you think you know, but you don't have any idea. In some of these small areas, how much big history is sitting in these small areas. In Dorchester and Eastern Shore side, and go across that bridge, and there's a whole lot of our history over there. But I had to do a shout out because when you're talking about that, I thought about everything as soon as you cross that bridge from Kent Island straight up. I was just like, oh, it's a story over there anywhere you go.
I'll tell you, it's amazing.
It is. And I thank you for even thinking along those lines, because the fact that you've incorporated it in a fun way. I know I was intrigued, but I could see, you know, children of that age, because that's a hard age. But I can see them the way even the title would pull them in, because it reminds them of the strength that we carry. And so I love what you're doing with this. And I know you're going to tap into this, but this is like not the end, but we're going to get you started. And here's where I'm going to push this. Y'all got to get the first book, because this is the first of several. So tell us about that.
Yeah. So the first book, again, Harriet Tubman is the muse. Octavia Butler is my motivation. The second book, though, I'm telling you, if you are a sci-fi fan, if you're a fan of Octavia Butler, this book is going to take you to a place that you've probably never experienced in reading. So long story short, Kofi's sister is going to become a shapeshifter in the ocean.
I'm excited already.
I'm telling you, it is going to be a scientific journey that all ties back to our ancestors.
I love it. I wanted to ask you a question, because I'm always fascinated with writers who are into sci-fi. And when I read some of it, I'm just drawn in. You know, you start reading something and you're not sure. So you're just like, let me check this out a little bit. And then it's just like, each page grabs you where you find yourself. That's why I gotta be careful when I start to read, because I won't put the book down. And it's like, okay, you got a whole family living around you. You got things to do.
I did nothing but read this book.
I love those type of books where it just brings you in and you're like, okay, just give me a good couple of hours and let me finish this book, because I don't want to stop. And that's what we need to bring kids back to reading again. Like, kids don't love to read like they used to. And I'm a book lover, but I know that it seems like just as more time goes, it just seems like it gets harder for us to get engrossed into a book. But I think you're onto something, Dion.
Yeah, and especially when we talk about history, right? So, you know, when I get these kids together and I start programming with them, they're going to take my walking tour, right? So, you know, a lot of people don't know that Dorchester County has the second deepest waterway next to Baltimore, right? So Baltimore Inner Harbor. So we know for a fact the records that slave ships actually docked here in Dorchester County, and slaves were marched up High Street and sold at the courthouse. So a lot of people don't realize, like, when you are at places like Baltimore or Annapolis or here in Dorchester County, you will notice that the areas that are by the water are almost exactly like they were whenever the towns were founded in the late 1500s or 1600s. So in Dorchester County, when they actually sailed over, like always, they look for the highest point of land closest to the deepest point of water, because you can trade in, you can trade out, you know, you can move stuff here. So we were known for timber and tobacco here, but also known for slaves. We were also a breeding town for slaves that a lot of people didn't know about. So when you come to Dorchester right now, you have the deepest point of water, you have the courthouse, you have the church, you have the post office and the bank. Those are the first things that are always set up, and the jail are the first things that is set up by any colonized town. And it's usually High Street, Water Street, or Main Street, right? Everything that was founded in the early 1600s is in the exact same place today, which means when Harriet Tubman did her first escape in 1826 to go free her niece Keziah and her daughter, you can walk in Harriet's footsteps on Pond Street. You can walk in her footsteps to the courthouse. You can walk into her footsteps all the way to the water where she got on a boat. But then you could turn around and walk into the footsteps of the enslaved who docked here and were greased up naked and marched to the courthouse and sold. So once I get those kids, you know, to become a part of this curriculum, they're going to learn that this history is all around them. But I also want to put in context that history is a continuum. You know, my book is a marker. What's your marker going to be? You know, that's a good
question. That's a good question, and something for us to think about. I mean, that's a takeaway question that, you know, I don't even think you can answer in this moment, but it's something to make you think about. You know, how are you in the age group that you're targeting is so important. Our teens, and you have to be creative to grab them in. And get them excited about learning things that maybe they don't even want to, you know, it might be a little discouraging to learn about those kind of things, but you're telling stories. And this, to me, I'm just envisioning is telling the story in a way that they can embrace it. All parts of it, that it didn't just start with slavery. There's a whole story.
Yes.
And it didn't start there. That was a part of the journey, and just sharing, you know, how we are as a people. And so I love and what made you decide on The Wind Whisperer?
So The Wind Whisperer, again, I wanted this to be a story about self-discovery.
Okay.
So when a child reads this, they don't need 2 or 3, 4 or 5 other people to help them find their power. You know what I mean? It's already in you. You got to birth it. You're going to go through a birthing process. And the wind, to me, you know, my target on just like everything that you just said, what if I had, when I do have the opportunity to connect with a child who's living in an environment where all they know is survival. And you give that child a voice, you give that child a platform. I don't care if it's designing clothes, writing a book, painting a picture, but if you give a child who's been hidden for so long an opportunity to be seen, you know, it's huge.
Yes. And to tap into that imagination. We could go on and talk about this, but I am so excited. Look, I haven't even got the first book yet, but I've already made my arrangement with Dion to get my signed copy because I like my book signed. But that you have that book and another. I think you said this is going to be a series of 3
books.
So I'm excited about reading about his sister and sharing this with our young people. I think your timing is wonderful. And I like that you are you're writing intentionally. That's one of the things that I don't see happening a lot. I see people, you know, everybody wants to, I understand it's kind of, you know, everybody's getting these books and things out, but it's kind of like why you don't see me putting a lot out, because I do want it to be intentional. I want it to have impact. I want it to mean something. And I think there's a space for all of us. And I love this space that you have found, because we've been around for a minute. On platforms about different co-authored books and things like that. So I am loving this lane for you. What we're going to do is we're going to take a commercial break. We're going to run a couple of commercials, everyone. So sit tight, and we're going to come back and talk to Dion, not only about how you can get a copy of his book, the first book, but we're going to talk more about about coffee. We can't tell you too much because you got to get this book. But stay right here, and we will be right back. But we're going to run a few commercials, and then Dion, before we come back in to join you, we're going to run your video one more time, because that got things moving for me. I was just like, let's watch it again. Okay, so I'm seeing movie. I'm seeing. Yeah, we'll talk, but we'll be right back. Y'all stay right there. Here we go.
Want to grow your brand's reach? We're seeking sponsors like you for our upcoming episodes. Whether you need a custom graphic or full commercial, our creative team can make it happen. Get your brand in front of a dedicated audience today. Let's create something amazing together. Contact DSM Media today to secure your spot.
Stations.
Keep looking.
Oh, you're going too slow. Let me take the wheel.
It's too fast. How could you even tell what's on?
I can tell. Too late. I'm in the 40s. Gotta go around the horn. It's faster.
Wait, stop.
I look for the giant chicken!
Now it's...
Okay, no, they didn't call me a giant chicken. No. But welcome back. I just love that little preview. Welcome to the Power Shot Up podcast. Empowering Perspective says skills, son. And I wanted to share some of the comments. Lisa Key said, mind blowing to be in the environment, because she did mention something about some certain, I think Empowering Perspectives mentioned something about certain areas in South Carolina that are very similar. I mean, I think we need to make it a point to visit these places. I mean, I think they're overlooked. You hear the big
or take the opportunity to tell that story. You know, a lot of times people don't understand the how or the blueprint, but you know, tell those stories. Can't nobody tell our stories like we tell our own stories.
That's true.
You know, and create a walking tour. You know, a lot of our history is categorized, symbolized, and monetized without us being at the table. Right. So they don't capture the essence of our communities because they're not a part of that. You know what I mean? You can't eat a yacht and then go make the route for the yacht. You know what I mean? You got to be in the kitchen with your grandmother, know somebody from Jamaica, somebody, you got to have that. You know what I mean? So that's what they're doing right now. You know, they making yacht with ketchup. Right.
Well, and I like that you, because I never really kind of thought about it that way, but you're in a perfect place to kind of back up the story that you're telling with an adventure to go with that, which is to me, that's exactly what captures them, is that now I get to go into an actual place. And telling a story when you're actually walking through a place that has that kind of history, that's so powerful. I mean, you can't beat that. And I think that for a long time, kids haven't been able to experience that. I think back in the day, we did. You read books, but you also went to the museums and you were able to see things that connected to what you read and that kind of thing. But we got away from that. So that's why I really like what you're doing and starting off with Kofi. But what do you want? I think you've talked a little bit about it, but ultimately, what are you looking for teens? Because like I said, that's a difficult age. And what are you looking for them to grab from it and take from it and then do with it? As far as sharing the story too, because even though they take it in, sometimes do they share it with their other friends? But this something like this, I'm thinking, oh yeah, they're gonna share this story.
Yeah. So this is and we've done this already. Like I said, we programmed with 2,000 kids already through my nonprofit, the Eastern Shore Network for Change. That were schools that they literally fly kids to us, and they spend 2 days with us on using the African American experience in Dorchester County as a case study to create the change that you want to see in your own communities.
Okay.
And then we do a 2-day track with Horn Point Laboratory to talk about the water and how important it was for the enslaved in terms of the Underground Railroad, and in making those trips to Canada. And we talk about that by following the life of an oyster from the spat to the dinner table. And then we tie all that together. But the entire time that we are working with these kids, it is in your face. It is real time. It's no cell phones. You're journaling, you're writing down your thoughts. I mean, when I pull out baby shackles to show them this is what people who look like me wore 300 years ago. Like, you know what I mean? So it's very intentional. And even when we have kids of privilege, we challenge them even more, because you come from a place of privilege where you've never been able to empathize. Even though you've learned about the African-American experience, you never showed empathy because it was a class to you, right? But now we challenge them, people of privilege, to use your privilege to advocate for somebody else, be a voice for somebody else. You know, we talk about the healthcare system. We talk about polluted plants in Black communities. We talk about the effects of redlining. You know what I mean? We talk about how systemic racism is still here. They just wear suits and ties, you know? So we literally, we pull back all the layers of these problems so someone can say, you know what? I can fit in there. My dad's a doctor. I can do this. Oh, I can do a survey here to do this. So we pull it all back. And what we do is we just create all these holes, and we give kids pegs and go fill in your peg.
Oh, I love this, Dion. I'm even thinking, so I know that you got this area that you're working with, but I'm thinking grown folk like me need to have these experiences just to kind of, I think Nick D said it, what she says, like disconnecting to reconnect. I mean, I think that's something we all need to do. I
like that. Yeah.
Because, you know, even though a long time ago, I can remember we were more in touch, or at least I was, and even my classmates. I mean, we look forward to field trips that kind of took us into a space. And I don't know that they do that so much anymore, but I would love to do something like that for adults, to reconnect, how we talk about unlearning things and learning things. This is, as Lisa Key said, I'm going to just use her 2 words. This is good stuff. You're doing good stuff right here.
I mean, but can you imagine? I mean, so you're living in a community where you're devalued. You know, you're living in subsidized housing. You have no voice, and a lot of these kids don't. You know what I mean? And you have no idea of how people had it worse than you back in the day and what they've done. Like a lot of people don't even know that the second president, first vice president, second president, because the president died, actually came from Cambridge, Maryland. You know, they don't understand, like, you know, Richard Allen, who was the founder of the Bethel AME Church, was literally meeting with President Monroe to talk about slavery ain't going to end, but you got to do something for my people, right? So President Monroe annexes Liberia. He gives a speech here in Cambridge. The Benson family boards a ship here in Cambridge called the Brig Strong. They sailed over to Liberia. His son, Stephen, who was 6, becomes a president, an attorney, all this other type of stuff. Then he writes their constitution to mimic ours. Their language is the English language. Their U.S. currency is our dollar. And there's the capital is Monrovia for President Monroe. And then there's a county over there called Maryland County in honor of him being from Cambridge, Maryland. So right now I'm working with the Secretary of State of Maryland to actually create a sister sister partnership with Liberia and Maryland, which has already been blessed by the president of Liberia last month. And I'm going to create an intern opportunity. So students go there, they come here for an exchange program.
Congratulations to you, Dion. Now this is my example of writing and publishing and creating with purpose. Because this is definitely going to pour into the next generation and the next generation. And you're actually in the process of pouring into them. You're showing them how they can continue to pour into the next generation, because I worry about things like that when it comes to my grandson. He's 6 and he loves to read, but that's coming from us because we were of that space. But then, what happens when he gets older and his influence is coming from his peers and they don't have an interest or they don't know. So it's easier to kind of keep your head in the sand sometimes, you know what I'm saying? Or if you don't know, you just don't know. So where can we find this book?
Yes. So Kofi's available on Amazon.
Okay.
It's also available on Audible. And it's also available in KDP format. Yeah, and I'll tell you, so the guy, Garen P, is the guy who I got to do the Audible voiceover. This guy is phenomenal. You got to hear it. Like, he's crazy good. And
I love it.
Yeah, and I want to share all these secrets too, because I'll tell you, I did all of this stuff by myself, like from the publishing to Amazon, whatever, the pricing, you name it.
Outstanding.
But I want to share the journey with people because I'm an analyst by trade, so I analyze everything, right? So I could have made a lot of mistakes, but I didn't because of my analytic experience, right? I can see where people do make mistakes because they just don't know and they go with their gut. So for instance, even when I had Gareth do my voiceover, when I logged into the system, they gave you all these examples of people you can use, but they were going to own the rights to this, own that, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, you know what? Let me go to my trusted friend Fiverr, right? Found the guy, one price, I own everything. We're good to go.
Well, look, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because in the world of publishing, and I think people think, because you never really see the background of things.
Yes.
And they think that it's just, you do this, and then bam, you have this book. But it is really something to the industry and really taking your time. And that's why I proudly say I'm just not a fan necessarily of, yes, it is true. You can publish a book or do something in 30 days. It's true. But just because it's true doesn't mean
come on now, right?
To do. So I think that people need to take their time. And like you said, when you're going to step into this world, do it with intention, because I think when it comes to, because this is Dion, when Dion writes this book and when Dion publishes this, Dion is pouring Dion into it too. So we have to do this with integrity. We have to be responsible. We just can't go out there and just say whatever we want to say and how we want to say it and call it entertainment or whatever. We got to be really responsible with the messages that we're sending.
100%.
So intention is everything.
And I would always say have a personal connection with your work. Have it come from somewhere within you that was burning so much you had to let it out. Just don't let it be a fly-by-night project, because the passion or the lack of passion is going to show. So, just like with anything in business, you can create something easily, but it's like raising it, helping it grow is a whole nother thing. So, I got off work today early and I ran to a book signing. Then I had an interview with the Baltimore Banner. Now I'm here with you. And now I'm going back tonight to do marketing, prepare my calendar for the next month.
Well, I'm telling you, that marketing background is really helping you with this too. I love marketing.
I did my own video.
My coach is Sean Lesueur, and she's a marketing expert. And marketing is everything. I try to tell people, but I mean, it's work though. I mean, you really have to get into it, and sometimes it seems like you're doing, how people say you doing the most or you doing, but His divine appointment said absolutely words can impact many things. Absolutely. And they're permanent, which is powerful. It can be powerful in a great way.
Yes.
But that's why intention is important, because it can be powerful in an awful way.
So true. Like so you could say, man, it was a hot sunny day, instead of saying it was a bright sunny day where the sun shone like honey or something like that. But it's those nuances where you have to take attention. And when you do that, it's like it takes you a long time to birth a project.
It does.
Because with the purpose and intention to not include an antagonist, then include him. Well, what's his name? His name is Mr. Cannon. And then I go far enough to even talk about cotton, not because cotton was here, because kids wouldn't know it was timber and tobacco here, but they recognize cotton being everywhere. And Maryland is technically part of the South, right? So, you know what I mean? So, it's all of those idiosyncrasies, right? That gives you credibility as an author, because the people that come behind you who are historians and know, like I had a lady ask me all these questions today. And when I explained it to her, she's like, oh my God. She's like, I totally get it. I said, remember, I'm writing for kids 14 to 18. What do they know versus what they don't know? What I could take them to see and touch versus doesn't exist. You know what I mean? So all of that thought went into it. And, so yeah.
I love it. I like the fact that the way you're doing this forces them indirectly to tap into their imagination. Because you don't just say it, you allow them to think about it. And, and that's why I love these types of books, because when you read it, when you put it that way, you really do kind of, it's that look up like, okay, I get that. And it makes you think, and it either makes you smile or makes you go, but it taps into all of those emotions, and it makes you think about things. And my mind actually works in a way, and I think some of his divine appointment and empowering perspectives, Nick D, Lisa Keys are part of the empowering perspectives group, and it's a community of people who we gather together for many things. And I'm going to share a little information about them. But even when I'm having discussions with them, when I'm trying to embrace something, I kind of need to put it into a picture so that it can make sense for me. So that I'm sure that I'm checking to see if I'm embracing this the way you mean it.
Yes. So another book that kind of got me into how do I frame this, not as a reading project, but as you're viewing pictures, right?
Okay.
Was Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin. You know what I mean? So him looking out that window, you see what you see. Does everybody else? Oh, wow. Yeah, that's deep. That's pretty deep. I just had a conversation about sharecropping yesterday with some people from the South. That is pretty deep.
And think about how it's introduced to you as a child, what you would think about it versus, if you put it in a way that this is something that they grew over on your side versus this was in slavery, this is what we did. It just depends on how you get the information out, whether people are interested sometimes. Look, Dr. Empowering Perspective said Dr. Lisa is the analogy queen. I feel like sometimes I'll be like, I don't know if I'm slow enough, but I'm like, okay, so I might connect it to a movie or a book or something, but because that when I'm writing and I'm reading, I love the analogy of things. I love how you explain the sun and you use other things to explain it. It just it's much more powerful that it just hits me better that way.
Well, I think I told you earlier before we went live, I was talking about like how I was writing all these metaphors, right? And I almost was like, Lord, I feel like I'm Sophia from Golden Girls. Picture it, sister. Right. 1919. Right.
I know sometimes I'll be like, okay, y'all, bear with me, but I need the picture. So remember the time that the boy smacked the apple out there, and then some people go, oh yeah, that's right. But sometimes it's like I think I'm there, but I need a picture to really push me over the edge. That's why I love what you're doing.
Right.
I love this. This is great, Dion. I want to hear more. Actually, when you do release the second book, we want to hear about his sister. So what we're going to do is take one more break. And then we're going to come back and you're going to remind everybody where to get this book. And this won't be the last time we hear from you, right?
No, not at all.
Okay, because we need to talk about this and maybe do a reading or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
So let's take a break. Y'all don't go nowhere. Sit tight. And we're going to come right back. Dion is not allowed to leave yet. Okay, no. But let's take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Is your family struggling to communicate? Do misunderstandings and arguments seem to be the norm? This fall, discover a new way to connect with the ones you love on the Power of Shut Up podcast. Join us as we explore the incredible power of listening and the art of effective communication. Each episode brings expert insights, real-life stories, and practical tips to help families like yours build stronger, more meaningful relationships. Learn how to truly hear each other, express yourselves with kindness, and create a harmonious home environment. It's time to transform your family's communication dynamics and find peace in the power of silence. Tune into the Power of Shut Up podcast this fall, because sometimes the best way to speak is to simply listen. Available on all streaming platforms. Don't miss out.
Yes, and let me tell you a little bit about empowering. I wanted to remind you all that this Mental Health Awareness Month, so keep that in mind. But we have Total Mind Shift community. They're in the chat, so please connect with them. But it's Empowering Perspectives on YouTube, and they have some amazing platforms on YouTube, on TikTok, on Facebook. There's Coach's Corner this every Tuesday. They have Hearts of Men. They have some great conversations led by the men of the group, and also Bible study that's every Sunday, I believe, at 2:00. And I love the Bible study. Reframing the Image of Relationships is on some Saturdays in the morning, and also the Hearts of Women. We're on TikTok every morning at 11:30 Eastern Standard Time, but I encourage you all to go check them out, Empower Perspectives on YouTube, and check out the many platforms that they have. Great conversations, whether it's coaching and leadership, relationships, business, anything you can think of. They are tackling it as a community, and I really enjoy. And I'm hoping people will go check them out, and you'll see me over there hanging with them because they're a great community of people who really they're. I think, and they might agree with me that what you're trying to do for the young people, I mean, you have your target group, but that's exactly what they're trying to do for the community as a whole. So please, I encourage you to connect with them. This is absolutely wonderful. I did want to make sure, and I want to do a shout out to those who won some gifts in April that I need to get those out. I'm not sure everybody sent me their information. So if you need the email address to send, I'll put that on the screen in just a minute, but please send me your information. But for you all that need a little positive affirmations here and there, y'all know I am an affiliate of Notes to Self Socks. So please, this is my link, notestoself.com/POSU. Go get your socks. Blessed, confident. I am loved, perfect. I am perfectly me. I love these socks. They are very, very good socks. I have many pair, but I also give them away on the show. Empowering Perspectives, and Dion, you're going to love this. But I always say for Mother's Day, we really do look out for the moms, but we give the same energy to the fathers. So next week we have Sharon Parker who's coming on, and she's going to talk about a new project that she has that she's launching. But for the last show of season 2, we are focusing on fathers in celebration of Father's Day. So June 12th, I think, is the last show. That is going to be totally focused on fathers, and the men is all about y'all. So women, y'all come to support as they do us. But I'm dedicating the last show of season 2 to the gentlemen who are out here doing the daggone thing, as I say, with the women as well. So only 2 more shows left, But I did want to say before we run your video one more time, Dion, if you all don't know, and I usually try to look at some awareness days in the month of May, we might have missed a few. I said some, I think, in the first of the month. But for those who don't know, just keep it on your calendar for next year. But National Golf Day is the 10th of May. I need to let my husband, maybe I should let him know because he probably thinks every day is National Golf Day. So National Golf Day, for those who love golfing, we talked about the teacher appreciation. But if you didn't know, May 20th is National Be a Millionaire Day. So if you missed it, maybe that explains why we haven't got there yet because we missed a day. But put it on your goals. Put it on your calendar. You got a year to get it right. Okay. So National Be a Millionaire Day and National, we missed this, but for all parents, actually for anybody who has a household, National No Dirty Dishes Day is May 18th. Okay. So put that on your calendar so that you can remind people, not that it's every day, but I'm just saying, y'all can just go ham with it, right? Just say, look, there is an official day, no dirty dishes. And I have a few more on today as well. So World Lupus Day, which you all might have been aware of, is the 10th. On the 25th, there's National Missing Children's Day. That's very important. If you all saw a movie on Lifetime, it was a friend of mine was that was her movie. It was Not My Family was the name of the show that came on Lifetime. And she actually is a huge advocate for missing children. But the 25th was, Lisa said, no dirty dishes is every day. Absolutely. Put some extra on it on the 18th because they really going to get it on the 18th. And I did want to say that going along with that, National Clean Your Room Day is also on the 10th of May. So put that along with the dirty dishes. They better get it together. So tomorrow is the 30th. Tomorrow is National Creativity Day.
All right.
I think it's perfect for Dion, what you're doing with this book. Keep it going. Tomorrow's your day, okay? Because this is creative. It's empowering. And I thank you for what you're doing. And remember on the 31st, I know we just came out of a holiday, all that stuff, but National Smile Day is on May 31st. So let's keep that in mind. Y'all might see that on my timeline because I think we need to do more of that. Smiling is contagious. Just pass on along. If you don't need it, give it to somebody else, but pass it along. And I'm going to leave you all before we say goodnight. I'm going to show you Dion's video one more time because it's going to really ignite you to go out there and get that book.
Yes.
And you can get his book on Amazon. And if you want to inbox and find out his information, we'll get that from him when we come back in just a minute. And he can get you a signed copy because the signed copies are them the good ones. Them the ones you can hold on to and later on you be like, look what I got. So hold on just a minute and let's check this out one more time.
In a land torn by chains, one boy dares to listen to the wind. Kofi's laughter once filled the skies, until silence came in the form of slavery. But even in bondage, the wind whispered, and Kofi heard its call. With every breath of sorrow, he discovered strength buried deep within. Elemental power stirs in his soul, a storm born of spirit and pain. From captive to liberator, his legend rises on wings of wind and will. A mythic journey of hope, resistance, and the unbreakable power to fly. Kofi, the Wind Whisperer. Available now on Amazon.
Now tell me that was not fire. Fire. Look, Empower Perspective said the month of May be asking too much. And Nikki said the month of May is perfectly filled. It sure is. It's a month to get to work. And we can turn it into a weekly and daily thing. Let's start off with the monthly. But Dion, tell everybody if they want a signed copy, give them your social media platform where they can find you and how they can get even a signed copy.
Yeah. So, and again, this goes to marketing when you're working on different projects, brand your name. It's DionBanks.com. You'll get all of my stuff there, all my contact information, or it's Dion Banks on all like Facebook, and all other social media. But DionBanks.com is where you can actually find me and get in contact with me directly.
Thank you so much, Dion. I'm so glad you gave me a yes to come on here and join us because it's been a minute.
Of course, for you, of course.
I enjoyed. Look, it's been a while, so I was like, we gotta catch up anyway. But I definitely want you to come back for each of your books and anything that you are doing. I mean, even maybe we can talk about doing something as far as getting some people who may want to fly in or come in and do some kind of tour over there on the other side of the bridge in Maryland and get some of that history. It's just a matter of putting it together and doing it. But let's talk further about that. But thank you for all that you are doing. I think you're gonna make a huge impact, especially on our young people.
Yeah,
so
thank you. Yeah,
and I look forward.
So another thing that I did for Mother's Day, I'm actually challenging the men to reframe the respect and responsibilities of the Black woman. So I wrote a poem called "The Most Dangerous Place to Be Right Now Is in the Womb of a Black Woman."
Ooh!
So we're actually having workshops on that now.
Okay, well, you have some information that you can share that we can put out there, or maybe we can bring you.
With Trump and this whole world, literally bringing forth a Black child in this world right now is the most dangerous thing you could do.
Yeah, something to think about for sure. Yeah. And we need to start thinking about it and talking about it. So, wow, we need to get that. I think his divine appointment said, please don't forget to put the email in the chat. So let me post the email real quick. Thank you for telling me that. For anyone who did not give me their information about where their email address. No, actually, I need your physical address so I can drop these things in the mail. Okay. Please send your information and let me see, because I have it. Y'all, I told y'all Sharifa's usually back here doing it. But send an email to info.dsmmedia@gmail.com so we can get you your giveaway. Thank you for the reminder to put that up there. I appreciate you all every week for coming here. Remember, we got 2 more shows, but the last show is going to be dedicated to fathers and men. So it's going to be all about them. And I really expect for the women to show up for them because they do for us. And I be celebrating mine over here. Sometimes he'd be like, you doing too much, but you all do so much for the family, and that will be your day over here at the Power Shut Up podcast. So I thank everybody again. Crystal, I think I do have yours, and thank you so much for reminding. But Crystal, I do have yours. If you've already sent it, just don't worry about it. But if you're not sure, go ahead and resend it, and I'll get that stuff out to you all. But thank you again for joining us. And I appreciate you all. And we will see you next Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with another great guest. But Dion, keep doing what you're doing. I want to hear more. And yes, I need you to give me my copy because I'm ready to read. So we will see you next week.
All right, awesome. Thank you. Bye.